running is a vertical jump. The idea that running is a vertical jump kind of blows our mind. Doesn't make sense. It scrambles our brain, right? Because we're moving forward. So aren't we jumping forward? Aren't we pushing off the ground and moving forward? No, we're not. And this is why you can run uphill. This is why you can run flat. This is why you can run on ice. That's not easy to run on ice, but it's possible. It's possible. And the reason is because running is a vertical jump. Now you can jump straight up on the ice, right? Without falling, assuming that you land right directly under your center. And I would argue that jumping up and down on the ice is about as difficult as running on the ice. You could slip, but it's as difficult. Now, jumping forward on the ice, since you're never going to be able to do that, you would just slip and fall right on your face, right? So that's a little bit of just like real world practical. I guess running is a vertical jump, but then how the heck am I moving forward? I'm going to explain that for you in these videos here. All right, so we're talking about running is a vertical jump. Now I'm going to stand to the side here so you can see, and I want you to just see that there's a straight line that goes from my heels to my hips to my shoulders towards the sky, so vertical, okay? Now what I'm claiming here is that when you run, you're jumping just straight up. Running is a vertical jump. Now the caveat here is that obviously you're doing more than just that. What makes it more? What turns it into a run? Well, running is a vertical jump with forward momentum, but this does not mean that you push off with your foot. And in fact, if you were to push off with your foot, you would see, the grass or the sand or whatever ripping up behind you every time you ran. And when you ran faster, you would see it like ripped up like this. This is not what you see. And in fact, oftentimes, you maybe as a kid, you might have gone ice skating and you've tried to actually run across the ice, and it's hard, but you actually can do it. You can do it if you have really optimal running form. And there's videos on YouTube you can go find of people running across the ice if you have great running form. Now here's the key to kind of understanding this, and I'm going to share with you how this can help you running, right? So because running is a vertical jump, I want you to sort of think of it like this. Let's start to internalize it together. So you can do this with me or you can just watch. But if you just jump back and forth like this, kind of like you're running in place, right? It feels like you're running. It feels like I'm running. I'm just not going anywhere. So in order to move forward, what do I have to do? What I need to do is actually lean at the ankles. You could, in theory, lean at the hips, or you could throw your arms forward, but you have to take your center of mass and move it forward. And the way you do that is by falling, right? This is the optimal way to do this with running. You don't run like this. You run at the ankles, okay? So it's a vertical jump with a forward lean. And what that looks like is, well, vertical jump, forward lean until you run. Now let's illustrate this a little bit further for you. I want you to think about trying to move forward without that lean. Would it be possible? So you're vertical jumping. How would you move forward? Could you even do it? You can't do it. You could try to come up with creative ways to do it, but the only way you're going to be able to go forward is to move your center of mass. And you could do this by throwing your arms forward, or you could do this by taking your legs and putting them kind of out behind you. So now your center of mass is ahead of your feet, and then you would fall forward. But I would challenge you to try to move forward without moving your center of mass first. It's literally impossible. Even if you were to do a standing jump, you would have to jump like this, lean forward, and then throw yourself with your arms like that, right? So what does this mean for your running, really? Basically, this just means that if you think about trying to run faster and you want to extend your stride, that this isn't the way to do it. Because if you extend your stride out in front of you, like this, well, now you're actually going backwards because your center of mass is in front of your foot. So it wouldn't work. And if you try to push off further in behind you, you're essentially gonna eventually fall on your face. So I'm gonna share with you the two things here that I want you to keep in mind. Number one is if you want to run faster, what do you need to do? You need to lean at the ankles. So faster could mean going from 0 to just running, right? So 0, I wanna go faster. The first thing I need to do is lean at the ankles. if you want to go faster when you're running, what do you need to do to go faster? You need to lean more, which is why you'll see sprinters in the 100 meters. They start on starting blocks, right? And they start way down. They're way leaned over. And essentially that's to take off time. If they started from standing still, they would have to fall forward, and that would take an extra like half a second or so, and they'd run slow. When they're already leaned forward, they can just explode off of the blocks, and then kind of like just stand up, right? So number one, if you want to go faster, the lean doesn't come from your hips. The lean doesn't come from your shoulders. It shouldn't, at least. It'll hurt your back. And you shouldn't think about pushing off harder with the ground, because it's an illusion that you push off from the ground. You don't. You actually just land under your center of mass and jump straight up. Okay, now here's the caveat here. I just told you if you want to run faster, you should lean more at the ankles. So if you want to run like Usain Bolt, wouldn't the formula then be to just lean over a lot and just go? And the answer is yes. Yes, that's the answer. But there's a problem. The problem is that you need to be able to generate force quick enough to stay on your feet. We could all agree that if you lean over enough, no matter how powerful you are, you're just going to fall over onto the ground, right? All right, so the reason your stride gets bigger is because your foot is going to need to land. The faster you go, your foot is going to need to land in front of you in order to catch you, right? So when you're just jumping vertically, there's a single point on the ground where you just need to put force into the ground to jump up. And that's right under your center of mass. Now, when you start to move, that point can't be directly underneath you. And the reason is because in order for that to work, you would need to push into the ground, create force into the ground instantaneously. But you can't do that. It's going to take some amount of time for you to put your foot on the ground and generate force. It might take just a fraction of a second. But how far forward, how much do you travel this way in that fraction of a second? If you travel from here to here in a fraction of a second, that means, let's say it takes 1/10 of a second for your foot to generate that force into the ground, okay? And in 1/10 of a second, if you travel from here to here, that means that your foot has to be in contact with the ground as you travel from here to here, right? And the only way that that's possible is for you to land slightly out in front of you. And 1/10 of a second goes by, and then you jump straight up, and then your foot collects behind you like this. So that's why your stride gets bigger. Should you try to make your stride bigger? Absolutely not. Because if you try to make it bigger in front of you, again, you're breaking yourself. If you try to make it bigger behind you, you fall over. All you need to do is lean forward more at the ankles. That's number one. Number two is you need to generate force into the ground more quickly. Because if you don't, if you just lean more forward, because you can do this, you can go sprint, right? If you lean more forward, but you can't generate the force more quickly, the only way that you can keep up is by elongating your stride bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, until eventually you can't do it anymore and you're at your maximum speed. If you think about running down a hill as fast as you can, what's going to happen is your foot's going to go way out in front of you. It's going to hit the ground. I'll back up here so you can see. It's going to hit the ground in front of you, and then it's going to whip behind you like this, and it's going to be this huge range of motion. And you're going to, until you're going as fast as you can down this hill, and then you fall flat on your face. But is there someone, take an elite sprinter, Usain Bolt, right? Could Usain Bolt run down that same hill and go faster? He could, because he can generate force into the ground more quickly. So his stride doesn't need to be as big as yours to generate the force. It could be smaller and generate the same force. So consequently, if he made his stride even bigger and matched yours, he's generating more force and he can go faster, okay? So the take-home point for you here is that you want to be able to train how quickly you can generate force into the ground. That is the only thing that's limiting you from how fast you can go. Because everybody can lean over until they fall, right? You want to have good form, good biomechanics, but you probably have pretty good biomechanics. The reason why you can't sprint even faster is because you're incapable of generating force more quickly. If you could go faster. So what you want to do in order to train yourself to have more power is two things. Okay, number one is what comes before power is strength. Let's review power and strength for a second. So power is just force over time. So I'm gonna come at the camera, right? I'm gonna punch the camera really slowly, right? And it's like, if that were you, would it hurt? No. But if I hit with the same force, but I did it really quickly, not even harder, just quickly, would that hurt? Probably yes, because there's more force being delivered in a shorter amount of time. Okay? That's the difference between force and power. So if you want to increase your power, you can just train your power through plyometrics, jump rope, depth jumps, things like this. But the problem is, if you don't have enough force in your reserve and you just train your power, what's going to happen is that you're going to get injured. So here's the formula. Ready? If you want to get faster, you want to train your power, and the way you do that is to take a two-step approach. Number one is you train your ability to produce force, and you might call this strength. So let's take a look at the stride here. What muscles are being used in order to jump vertically? Just like this, because this is a run, right? I'm going to do it with 2 feet to simplify it. This is what running is. It's just doing it going that way. So I'm not really using my arms. I'm not really using my back. A little bit to stabilize, right? Mostly what I'm using is my quads and my calves and my feet, the elastic component of my feet, tendons. It's mostly your quads, mostly your calves. So what you want to do is you want to get really strong quads and calves. I didn't say powerful yet, strong. And the way you do that is with the exercises that I share with you. You can do things like squats, lunges, calf raises, things like this. After you have a certain amount of strength, so you may want to train for a few weeks or even 6 weeks with your strength. And you can do this in your base phase of training, or your conditioning phase of training, or even your support phase. Then what you want to do is you want to take that strength and you want to teach your body to apply that force more quickly and turn it into power. And the way you do that is condition power. So remember, power is how quickly you can contract those muscles. So you may condition strength with the barbell and do heavy squat, heavy calf raise. You're getting stronger, but not more powerful. Now, to get more powerful, you want to take away the weight and you want to contract quickly. So you want to do things like jumps, because you cannot jump if you contract slowly. Watch, I could put 500 pounds on my shoulders, and if I do a squat, I'm not going to jump into the air. I did a lot of force, 500 pounds, but I didn't go anywhere. Now I get rid of that and I take the same amount of force, but I do it much more quickly and I'll jump into the air, right? So what you want to do is things like jump rope, depth jump. And what a depth jump is just jumping down off of a box, basically using a plyometric. So I hope that helped you guys here today. Running is a vertical jump. Don't worry about pushing off with your toes. And this is why when you see elite level runners, they make it look so easy, right? You've heard this before. They just made it look easy. And now if you take an elite runner and have them run at the pace that you or I run at, it's going to look so flipping easy that we're not going to even understand. They're just jogging. I'm sprinting. Why is it? That's why. Because they're more powerful. Not because they're stronger. Not because they have a stronger heart or lungs. They might, but it's because they're more powerful. Remember, running is a muscular event, not a cardiopulmonary event. Muscular. That's why they look good.